Mensch is one of those untranslatable Yiddish words that epitomizes what it means to be Jewish. A few years ago, an El Al flight was carrying to London a young child who needed an urgent and critical operation. But apart from the medical problem, there was another problem: money. The child's parents had barely enough to cover the cost of the flight to London, which involved buying an entire row of seats to accommodate the sick child and his medical support systems. Halfway through this flight, Mr. Yoshua, let's call him, who was traveling first class, made his way back to the back of the plane to pray with a prayer quorum, a minyan. And he saw this young child lying on the seats with all the equipment around him, went over to him. He asked the father how the child was doing. In the course of this conversation, the father told Mr. Yoshua that he had no idea how he was going to pay for the operation. He was already way over his head in debt with the medical expenses so far. He'd need nothing short of a miracle. Mr. Yoshua walked back to the first class cabin and he pulled out his hat and he proceeded to tour the aisles of the first class cabin collecting for the operation. Within 10 minutes, his hat contained some $100,000 of checks and cash. We may be a fractious, stiff-necked people, but if the Jewish people excel at anything, it's tzedakah, charity. Really, charity doesn't accurately define the word tzedakah. Tzedakah really means, quite literally, righteousness. Righteousness, however, is no more than rightness, doing what is right. Let them take for me a portion. From every man whose heart motivates him, shall you take my portion. The commentators, the spiritual masters, teach the deeper meaning, that there are three kinds of giving tzedakah, and all of them are hinted at in this verse. The lowest level is the person who would really prefer not to give tzedakah at all. He's too embarrassed to say no. About him, the verse says, you shall take my portion. He feels it's being taken. The second level is when we give tzedakah out of the kindness of our hearts, because we can't bear to see the suffering of others. And that's what it means when it says, quote, from every man whose heart motivates him. Noble as this is, it's not, however, the highest level of giving. The highest level of giving is when it says, let them take for me a portion. Here the giving is, quote, for me, unquote, because that's what God wants us to do. Not because the world is a nicer place when people give charity, not because of kindness, which is a wonderful thing, but solely because I want to fulfill the will of the Creator, that I should be the kind of person that does righteousness. Now, no one will ever know which of those people in that first-class cabin, to which group they fell. What's clear, however, that whatever a Jew's motives are, he knows what it is to be a Mensch.